This is your host, Town Manager John Potter, broadcasting from the BCTV studios in Brattleboro, Vermont, with another edition of the Town Matters podcast. This podcast is a brief update on what's happening in Brattleboro town government. Today, I'll give you an update on the Selectboard's meeting that was held on Tuesday, April 7th, and then I'll review the agenda for a special meeting they're having on Monday, April 20th, and their next regular meeting, which will be on Tuesday, April 21st. Also, I'll go over a few announcements before wrapping up. So looking back at the April 7th meeting, there were 15 items on the consent agenda. So the board considered these items: a hazard mitigation grant program modification award in the amount of $156,662 for reconstruction of the William Street retaining wall. And this was some great work by Brian Bannon to get additional funding to cover the overages on that project. The second item on consent was an entertainment license for the West River Cafe at 485 West River Road, and then one for India Masala House at 7 High Street. Then there was a third-class liquor license renewal for Echo's Restaurant and Lounge at 69 Main Street, a parade permit for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention for a walkathon to be held down around by the Youth Theater on September 20th. And there was also a parade permit for the Green Street School's 5K run, which is to be held on May 2nd. Further items on the consent were approving the ordering and purchase of a 2026 Ford F-250 pickup and a 2025 Isuzu NPR truck with con compactor for $52,487 and $161,497 respectively. There was a motion to reappoint Sue Fillion and Ralph Mema as Brattleboro's commissioners on the Wyndham Regional Commission for a term of 1 year. The consent also had approval of the town's 2026 road and bridge standards, which is a requirement of the state to pass that every year. There was an authorization for the Department of Public Works to apply for up to $200,000 for both a fiscal year 27 VTrans Town Highway Structures Grant and for a FY27 VTrans Town Highway Class 2 Paving Grant, and those have 10% and 20% matches respectively. There was approval of an open meeting permit for the Gallery Walk program this summer with the usual plans for use of Elliott Street and the Harmony lot. And there was scheduling for the Selectboard retreat, which will be held on April 30th from 12:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. And finally, on the consent was approval of the purchase of a replacement water system metering device and related equipment for an amount not to exceed $75,000 from an existing line in the utility capital budget. And all of those 15 items were approved on consent, and they moved to regular business. And under regular business for April 7th, the board announced committee vacancies, a long list of committee vacancies, including a vacancy also on the Planning Commission. And then following that, the board heard a presentation from VTrans staff about the Exit 1 bridge replacement project. So the two bridges at Exit 1 that go over Route 5, they're going to be replaced. And so several members from the Agency of Transportation were there, along with some consultants, to explain how that project is going to happen. They talked quite a bit about the removal of the grass medians. They talked about the traffic disruption that may occur while the replacements are being done and sort of how the flow of traffic will work. There was also discussion about extension of sidewalks down into this area and beyond to the industrial park. And that is an option for the town to pay for as part of this project if it wishes, and that I expect will be revisited in the future. And then VTrans also explained how people can get updated lead on this project, and there's a place to go on their website to sign up for information. The final item on April 7th was an update from the Department of Public Works. And DPW Director Dan Tyler and Highway Utilities Superintendent Darren Pacheco gave a presentation, and it included showing the board an interactive map that they've put together to explain various projects around town, which was very good, and they got congratulated on that. The staff were asked what the big concerns are in the department, particularly regarding funding, and the things that were mentioned were sidewalk maintenance, the traffic lights downtown, which they're continue to coordinate with the state on getting those functioning optimally, just aging systems in general, and the need to budget for upgrades. And that was the meeting for April 7th. The next Select Board meeting is a special meeting for Monday, April 20th at 6:30 p.m. And this special meeting will be a joint meeting with the Hinsdale Select Board, and it will be held at the Hinsdale Town Hall, which is at 11 Main Street in Hinsdale. It will start at 6:30 p.m. And the topic is to discuss Hinsdale Island and the Anna Marsh and Charles Hunt bridges. The next night, Tuesday, April 21st, will be the next regular meeting of the Brattleboro Select Board, and that will be at 6:15 p.m. in the Select Board meeting room at 230 Main Street. And this is what will be on the agenda for that meeting. On the consent agenda, there are 5 items. They will be considering the award of a $30,240 bid for improvements at the High and Green Street intersection, consideration for the award of a $360,915.60 bid for the 2026 paving contract. There will be authorization for application of a Bureau of Justice Assistance COSSIP grant, and don't ask me to say what COSSIP is, but it relates to opioid overdose prevention work. There is also an item to authorize a $50,000 purchase for the replacement of aging security cameras at the police station, and finally, ratification of a Kelly settlement. Under regular business, the board will kick it off with an item to establish a town human services committee. And this is to replace the defunct representative town meeting human services committee. Following that, the board will announce additional committee vacancies, including, presumably, if they approve this establishment of a new Human Services Committee, they'll announce vacancies on that, as well as they will be announcing the vacancies on the Advisory Budget Committee that was formed at town meeting. Oh, and by the way, there was a town meeting, and there were a number of articles there, which I don't have summary information about, but boy, I really should do a podcast about the town meeting. But since it's not really a select board meeting, I'm going to make an executive call to urge people to look at the minutes and the BCTV broadcast of the town meeting, which was the first open town meeting in many years, and by many accounts, very successful. Following the announcement of committee vacancies, the board will hear fiscal year 26, so the current fiscal year's monthly budget update through the end of February. The next item will be an update on the solid waste program and the contracting that the town has put together, as well as the first reading of an ordinance change to implement the new solid waste program. Following that, there'll be an informal discussion about establishment of a stormwater utility, and that will be a conversation with DPW and planning staff. Next, there will be consideration of a procurement policy. The staff have a revised procurement policy to bring to the board for approval. Then there will be an item on Vermont's General Assistance Motel program and a policy consideration on the select board stand on that program. Following that, there will be an item on the town meeting requested EMS study. So one thing that did happen at town meeting was there, under other business, was a non-binding article request of the select board around EMS. And the final item for April 21st will be committee appointments. Couple of announcements. The back entrance of Brooks Memorial Library is all dirt and a big hole in the ground at the moment. It is closed to the public and there is fencing up around it. And that closure is now through early July due to the construction that's going on there. Library patrons should plan to use the front entrance along Main Street. Speaking of the library, the town is very excited to announce that Julie Perrin will be the next director of Brooks Memorial Library. Julie has spent the past 9 years leading the Jaffrey Public Library in Jaffrey, New Hampshire, and will be joining the town on May 11th. You can find the full announcement, which includes more details about Julie's background, on brattleboro.gov. So welcome, Julie. As mentioned during the Select Board's meeting on April 7th, the Department of Public Works has published an interactive map to help the public track the progress of various public works projects throughout town. The map provides a comprehensive overview of active as well as planned public works projects, including things like roadway improvements, utility upgrades, drainage work, and capital infrastructure initiatives. Each project includes key details to help you visualize the location, the extent of the work, and how coordination is happening across departments. You can find a link to this interactive map by visiting brattleboro.gov/DPW. And a final announcement, the Recreation and Parks Department has several events lined up for spring break. For more details about Rec and Parks programs, please visit brattleboro.gov/recreation. So that's a recap of what's happening in town government in Brattleboro. Please reach out to me at the town manager's office or by email at townmanager@brattleboro.gov if you have any suggestions for what you'd like to hear on this podcast, or if you want to discuss anything further in general. There's lots of additional information, as always, on the town website, brattleboro.gov, about what's discussed at the Select Board meetings. So please check in there for agendas, reports, and backup materials. Thank you for listening, and please check in again soon.